And welcome back to Reactioncast. It's your host Jesus, aka Tyrant Dominus, and today we're talking about Project Hail Mary, a movie that came in with a lot of hype, a lot of goodwill behind it, and a pretty big sci-fi premise. So the big question for me was simple: does it actually live up to that, or is it just another case of people getting carried away the second something decent comes along? And after watching it, I've definitely got some thoughts. So let's get into it.
The sun is dying.
You are the only scientist who might know what this says.
I'm just a teacher at Grover Cleveland Middle.
You have a doctorate in molecular biology. I need you to come with us.
This is Project Hail Mary.
The sun is not the only star dying. Every star was infected by its neighbor, except one.
Why?
We don't know.
Which is why we built a ship to go there and find out.
It's 11.9 light years away. The astronauts die in space.
It's what you Americans would call a long shot.
Hail Mary. I get it. Who on earth is going to sign up for this?
If we do nothing,
Everything on this planet
we'll go extinct.
You'll find a solution.
You are my solution.
I put the knot in astronaut. I've never done anything. I've never done a space. I can't even moonwalk.
So the movie follows Rylan Grace, played by Ryan Gosling, who wakes up alone on the spaceship with no memory of who he is or why he's there or what exactly happened to the rest of the crew. And right away, that creates a pretty effective hook because the movie is basically forcing both Gray and the audience to put the puzzle together at the same time. As his memory slowly starts coming back, we learn that Earth is in the middle of a massive crisis. The sun is being affected by some strange organism that they call the astrophage. And if humanity can't figure out how to stop it, the future gets very ugly very fast. We're talking food shortages, ecological collapse, global panic, the whole nightmare package. Oh god. So Grace ends up tied to this mission involving Tau Ceti, the one star system that might hold the answer. And from here, the movie unfolds as both a survival story and a mystery. And it's about figuring out what happened, why Grace is there, what the plan is, and whether any of this can actually work. But what I like is, even though the premise sounds massive and kind of overwhelming, the film keeps grounding itself in one guy trying to solve problems one step at a time. That helps a lot because the movie could have easily drowned in exposition, and instead it drip feeds you information through flashbacks and recovered memories. So even if it's laying out the science and mission details, there's still a sense of discovery in it. You're not just sitting there being lectured at, you're following Grace as he pieced together his own story. And without spoiling it where it goes, I'll just say the movie eventually becomes something much more personal than just save the planet. The scope stays big, but the emotional focus gets smaller in reality, a smart way. That's where the movie separates itself from being just another space thriller. So, let's talk Ryan Gosling here. He's doing a lot of work here, and thankfully he's really good in this role. What I appreciate most in the movie does not try to make Grace some effortlessly cool super genius astronaut. He's smart, sure, but also awkward, panicky, a bit messy, a little bit confused at times, and sometimes kind of pathetic in a very, human way. And that works because Gosling knows how to play that balance. He can make Grace funny without turning him into a joke. He can make him emotional without feeling forced. There's a looseness to the performance that keeps the movie from getting too stiff or too self-important. He feels like a person reacting to insane consequences, not a sci-fi archetype reading from a whiteboard. Also, he handles the tonal shifts really well. This movie asks to bounce between comedy, stress and grief, wonder and problem solving sometimes in a same stretch of screen time. And for the most part, he keeps it all feeling natural. There are moments where he's selling fear, frustration, or loneliness with almost no dialogue, and those beats matter because they make the bigger emotional scenes hit harder later. And then we have Sandra Huller, I apologize, is as solid as Eva Strat. She brings this really stern, controlled energy to the film. The character works as someone who has completely accepted the situation and that is so dire that mortality has become a luxury. She's not there to be warm. She's there to get results. And Haller plays the relentlessness, oh, got that word, in a way that keeps the character interesting rather than cartoonish. That said, I do think the movie could have done a little more with her. She's important, she has presence, but she also feels like a character where one or two more really strong scenes could have elevated her from effective to unforgettable. But let's be real, the movie's secret weapon here is Rocky. Rocky is the kind of character that could have gone terribly wrong in a lesser movie. This could have easily been an annoying mascot, some forced comedic relief character, like, oh, look at the memorable. Yeah, it could have been a disaster. But instead, Rocky ends up being one of the best things in the whole film. The design, the performance, the personality, all of it works. Rocky feels expressive, distinct without losing the fact that he's supposed to be an alien. And more importantly, Rocky becomes a real character, not a gimmick, not some side joke, a real emotional presence in the story. That's huge here, because once the movie leans into that relationship, it basically finds its soul. The thing I like most about Project Hail Mary, structurally, I mean, is that it understands the importance of having a hook. You know, starting with Grace waking up in this disoriented state is a smart choice because it lets the audience enter the story with from a place of confusion and curiosity. We don't sit there at a giant opening info dump about the mission. We discover the movie as he discovers it. The approach works especially well early on because memory loss angles gives the film momentum, and then the flashback structure helps parcel some of the information in a way that keeps the plot moving. You're always learning something new, and for a movie with this much science and setup, that matters a lot. But I do think some structure eventually becomes one of the film's weak points here. There are moments where the present day story is really picking up, and when there's tension is building, the emotional investment is strong, and then the film cuts away to explain another piece of the past. Sometimes that works, and sometimes it feels like the movie is stepping on its own momentum. That's really the biggest issue with the pacing. It's not that the movie is boring, because honestly, I think I don't think it is. It stays engaging. It does feel uneven at times, and it has this rhythm where it accelerates, but then pauses, then accelerates again. So even though the individual scenes work, the overall flow is not always as smooth as it could have been. And yeah, the runtime is noticeable. It's a little over 2.5 hours long. The movie definitely has sections that could have been tightened. There are moments there where it feels like revisiting emotional old story beats has already been sold. Not enough to ruin the experience. Okay, let me point that out. It doesn't ruin the experience, but enough that it feels the length. The other thing to mention is the science. The movie is definitely science forward, and that's the part of that's appealing. It wants you to be engaged with ideas, experimentation, and the problem solving, but sometimes it's not so obsessed with the realism. So it's supposed to entertain. There are moments where you absolutely have to just roll with it a little bit, but honestly, I'm okay with that, okay? Because the film earns the goodwill. Once the emotional center locks in, you stop nitpicking every scientific convenience and start caring more about the choices, the stakes, and the relationship. That's usually the sign that the movie has its priorities in the right place. So some of a few side notes, extras that I wanted to point out is the humor. Here deserves a lot of credit because one of the reasons the movie is so watchable is because it never lets the end of the world setup turn everything into a gray slab of seriousness. Lord and Miller brings a real sense of play to the material. The comedy mostly comes from the characters, the timing, the situation, instead of just the non-stop quips. That's important because there are differences between a movie being funny and a movie being desperate to remind you that it's funny. Project Hail Mary usually knows the difference. The jokes help the characters feel more human. Yeah, human. That makes the emotional beats land better because the movie has actually built some charm and affection between asking you to care. Visually, the movie looks great. The cinematography gives a real scale, but it also has texture. Space feels beautiful and dangerous. The ship's interiors have enough detail and I can't say that word. That technicality. It looks good, okay? It would never feel fake. It doesn't feel fake. There's a lot of modern blockbuster sci-fi that ends up looking weirdly flat or overly digitized or just kind of lifeless. And that doesn't this film doesn't have that problem. And Rocky's design is a huge part of that. There's a physicality that really matters. The character feels present and tangible. And it helps sells the relationship at the center of the movie. If Rocky had felt weightless or like obviously artificial, the movie probably would have fallen apart, honestly. Instead, Rocky feels like one of the biggest technical and creative victories. Now, the score and sound design is also strong here. The movie understands when to go big, when to sit and wonder, and when to let the quieter emotional beats breathe. It helps that the film's uplifting, adventurous quality that sets it apart from a lot of more cynical genre. And I think the thing that helps coming back to the movie is sincere, not cheesy, not naive, but sincere. It believes in cooperation and curiosity and compassion, and the idea that people and even beings from completely different worlds can still understand each other and work together. And this gives the whole movie a tone that feels refreshing. At the end of the day, Project Hail Mary is one of those movies that the flaws are real, but the strengths are just stronger. And yes, it runs a little long. Yes, the flashback structure can mess with the pacing here and there. And yes, there's definitely moments where the science asks you to go along the ride a bit more than questions every little detail. But none of that stops the movie from working for me, because what the film gets right, it gets really right. Ryan Gosling gives a performance that keeps the whole thing grounded. The visuals are strong. The humor actually lands. And more importantly, the emotional core is there. That's the big thing. The relationship at the center of this movie is what gives all the spectacle, all the science, and all the world-ending stake actual soul. And that's why this movie sticks. It could have been a clever sci-fi survival story that probably still would have been pretty good. But by giving it warmth, sincerity, and a real emotional connection, Project Hail Mary becomes something a lot more memorable than just another solid space movie. It feels like a movie that actually wants you to leave with something, not just admire the mechanics of it. And it actually makes me want to read the book, actually. Like I'm actually going to be like reading / listening to the audiobook. So yeah, for me, this is a very easy recommendation, especially if you like sci-fi that still remembers to have its heart. It may stumble a bit in structure, but where it counts most, it absolutely delivers. And that's where I'll leave it, those are my thoughts on Project Hail Mary. It's a little longer than my normal ones. So if you've been here, thank you. Let me know what your thoughts about it is, because this definitely feels like one of those movies people are going to connect with for different reasons, whether it's the adaptation, the science, the emotion, or just friendship at the center of it all. So let me know down in the comments if you're on YouTube or on Spotify, or if you're listening to this on any of the podcast platforms. Just let me know on any of my socials. So thanks again for listening or watching. Until next time, see ya.